各位线上线下的同学们，早上好啊！欢迎来到首届微软学生开发者峰会。我是微软云技术布道师 Kingfei 江湖呢人称卢老师。下面介绍一下我今天的搭档微软的学生大使夏俊同学。夏俊好。
大家好，我是来自上海交通大学的微软学生大使夏俊。欢迎各位同学来到我们的学生开发者峰会。今天我和卢老师会和大家一起度过快乐的一天。
在大会开始之前呢，我们已经在宣传上面做了很多的预热。今天夏同学呢是作为我们的学生大使的主持来去帮我们去完成我们的学生开发者峰会。另外的我是作为微软的一个布道师也来到了学生开发者峰会，能够在一天里面呢给大家呢带来非常非常丰富的一些技术，还有一些跟教育相关的内容，希望给到我们各位同学呢有不同的一些体验。不论你是刚入学的一些新生，还是要面临就业的毕业生呢，我知道大家呢都会对自己的职业规划，或者是怎么样子去学习一些新的技术，或者是在毕业之后怎么样子步入到职场，这些问题呢都会有很多的一些想法，或者是自己的一些见解但是呢我觉得今天呢，我们会给大家呢有更多的一些思路，希望大家呢能够真正踏入到技术这个行列当中我想问问夏同学的是，你最擅长的是什么技术？
那当然就是人工智能了，跟我的本专业也是相关。那么人工智能现在呢，它不仅能够分析一些海量的数据，它也还有诗和远方像我们借助这个微软云的技术，我们也能够让人工智能拥有一些写诗甚至是作画的能力，而且还可以像在解决一些物理学界前沿的问题，比如说受控核聚变的问题上也有了一定的进展。所以我想人工智能技术也是非常有前景的。
好，谢谢夏同学我觉得夏同学呢，我跟他合作过2次第一次是在我们微软学生大使的一个活动上面，另外的就是这一次的学生开发者峰会了我觉得夏同学呢是各位同学学习的榜样希望大家呢就是多向夏同学学习。今天我的峰会呢其实有非常多的一些话题大家知道从技术、学术还有开源、创业等热点呢来去做希望给大家一个成长的路径，成为像夏同学一样的领军人物
卢老师过奖了，不过今天的干货确实非常多，希望给到各位同学充满干货的一天。
在说到技术的时候呢，我觉得每个人都会有一个榜样无论你是从事哪一个行业。我想问问夏同学，你有没有膜拜的偶像或者技术大神呢？
有啊，微软的 Schoolman Hanselman 就是我的膜拜的技术大神了。我每周都有留意他的 Azure Friday， 还有他的技术类短视频和博客，很希望能够见到他呀。
夏同学，我觉得你膜拜的大神呢也是我的偶像其实我们虽然在不同的年代，当然我们年纪不是相差太远，但是我们都知道学习技术肯定有一个引领的人。今天呢我觉得第一个呢给到大家的就是我们把 Scott 给请来了我们可以听一下他在说什么因为他知道我们的微软学生开发者峰会之后呢，他非常的支持，希望给到各位小伙伴呢有一些自己的一些亲身的体会，因为毕竟他每个人都是从学生时代而经历过来的希望大家呢也能听听他的一些经验跟分享。
好太赞了，那事不宜迟，我们赶紧来听听吧。
好，马上去片。
Hello everyone, welcome to the Global Microsoft Student Summit. I am Khushbu Verma and today I am joined by Scott. Hey Scott, how are you doing?
I'm very well, how are you?
I'm doing excellent as well. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I'm just excited to be here to talk to all the young people at the Student Summit, the folks that are early in career that are coming in today. We're going to hear from all kinds of folks about their journey into tech. And I'm excited that you and I kind of represent the best of Microsoft, both people who've been here a long time and people who are just getting started.
Yeah, that's so exciting, that students here are here to interact with the local student communities and hear from Microsoft leaders, cloud advocates, MVPs, and Microsoft Learn student ambassadors. So why don't we start with your journey into tech?
Well, I'm not sure. We should compare journeys, I think, you and I. So the first time I ever saw a computer, I was 12, and my grade 5 teacher brought a computer into the room that the entire room could share. So we didn't have individual computers, but we had one computer that we could all take turns on, and we had a sign-up sheet. We could say, I want to use the computer at 4 o'clock. When was the first time you ever saw a computer?
I think I was also in school at that time when I first saw a computer, but my first interaction with programming wasn't until I was in class 9th or 10th when I first got to know what HTML was, CSS was. I think that was my first interaction with computers. But I think the students here today who are joining us might have had, different experiences with computers as well. Some of them might have been introduced early on. Some of them might be having their first interactions lately.
And that's what's exciting, is that so many different people came into tech in different ways. Some people, their first computer might be a phone or a tablet. It might have been a laptop. It may have been one that was given to them, or it may have been one at the library that they would visit, like me.
Yep. In fact, I remember when I was in school, I was least interested in tech. And today I am a software engineer at Microsoft. And I think communities have played such an important role in my journey, because when I entered university and I got exposed to these wonderful communities, especially Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador community, I got, exposed to such diverse set of opinions, such diverse set of ideas, possibilities to learn, and so many resources. So I no longer felt like I was restrained to any demographic or any university. I had the internet, I had all the resources, and all I had to do was learn. So, what advice do you have for the students who are joining us today? How can they learn to the best of their capabilities and make the best out of the summit?
I think that you said it right when you said it was about community, right? Once you find computers, you find tech, the next step is to find your people. And your people might be based around your identity or your location. It might be based around your technology. So you might want to find your C# people, right? Or you might want to find your university, study group, and then spend time with them, whether it be virtually, like we are right now, or if you can, in person. When I was coming up, we found user groups and get-togethers, right? And being able to have just a dinner or a lunch with like-minded people to talk about tech is so important, because it reminds us that we're not alone. And when our students from the Student Summit here perhaps come and join Microsoft in the future, they might initially feel very alone, like, okay, now I've made it, I'm inside, I'm at a big company, now what do I do? The way that you solve that is by finding friends and colleagues to work with, to study with, and for support. And that support is so important. And that's why it's great to have student summits like this to let people know that they're not alone.
I completely agree to that. And I think one of the best things about working at Microsoft is the growth mindset that, the company promotes. So it's like we embrace challenges. We are not afraid to try out new things or step out of our comfort zone. And this is something that I would also tell to my younger self, right? Someone who was absolutely afraid to go out and meet new people, try out new things, or, stepping out in uncomfortable positions and trying to learn something new and having that fear of being a beginner. But I think that here we have this growth mindset, and it means that, okay, we can embrace our failures and we can be a beginner at something. But if we rely on each other, if we go and ask for help, and if we network with the right set of people, then there's nothing that can't be achieved.
I'm curious, how do you ask questions inside the company and be not worried that someone will judge you because you're asking a dumb question? Because I don't think there's any dumb questions, and I want people to ask. But I'm curious, do you ever feel like, I'm nervous, I don't want to ask that question?
Oh, no, definitely not. I think initially I used to feel that, but I understand that the culture here is very supportive, and everyone who, joins straight out of college, it's definitely understandable that they have probably not worked on a certain set of technologies, but as far as they're comfortable with the basics and they have the curiosity to learn, they can figure things out. So I think most of us here are figuring things out every single day, and the peers here are very supportive. So if someone comes up to me and asks me for help, I would be more than happy to help them. And similarly, if I go to someone, they are always so supportive that I've never felt like, I am shy of asking questions or anything. And this is what I would suggest to, people who are here today as well, that if you're starting out, ask as many questions as you can, because as Scott mentioned, there are no wrong questions or no dumb questions.
Yeah. I think another thing that you said that I think is very important is understanding the basics. So like, what are the basics? I think a lot of folks, when we are learning in school, we focus on for loops and syntax and this language and that language, but we kind of forget about characteristics of computers. How much latency is in a system, memory, CPU, network, no matter what language you're using, no matter what system you're building, these things are all still computers. So understanding the basics, do you think that's a really important part of being a software engineer?
Oh, yes, definitely. There are so many technologies that I've worked on so far. And the only thing that I've understood is that if you are comfortable with the basics of one language, then it is very easy for you to switch between multiple languages. I remember when I was in university, I was so confused whether I should get started with web development or should I get into Android development or should I pick up machine learning? Because there are so many technologies and everything is evolving so fast that it's almost impossible to know everything. But one thing that I've learned so far in my journey till here is that if you're comfortable with the basics, if you understand problem solving, then there is no such problem that you can't solve.
Yeah, problem solving is a big important thing. And the fact that what's the difference between an early in career and a later in career person? Is it that I know more? It's actually the fact that I've been able to exist in this space for a long time. So when it seems like I know stuff, it's really that I've just seen it before. And that's what's great, because we want you, Khushbu, and we want our friends who are going to come and join us at some point in Microsoft to stick around for 5, 10, 20 years so that they too will have the gift of having seen it before. And the difference between an early in career engineer who maybe will go and Google with Bing for the instructions and the answers, and someone who's been around a long time is just that I've seen it before. So I don't have to search because I'm like, oh, I remember 5 years ago when I hit that same error. And I want everyone to have that feeling of knowing the answer.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like there are so many things that even I'm getting comfortable with. So that is the thing that you just figure out in the process. There will not be any point where you'll have figured everything out. So it's the journey and you'll keep on figuring out things every single day. But
Yeah.
Scott, I have one more question for you. What is some advice you would give to people who are attending today? How can they make the most out of this summit?
I would see if you can connect with some people. We're going to see folks on social. We're going to have opportunities to meet and chat with people. Find a natural opportunity to find your tribe, find your group of people that are interested in the technology or the social change that you're interested in, and see if you can spend some time with them. Because when the summit's over, what happens then? Right? So maybe the summit happens and you can connect with your student ambassadors on the campus that you're at. Or maybe you go and join a local user group that isn't a student-based user group and start to slowly enter that professional space.
Yes, I totally agree. Like even at the Microsoft Student Summits that I have attended as a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, the best thing that I found about it was the collaborations that resulted after the summit. So I meet people from different backgrounds, different universities, even different nationalities. And then the collaborations that come out of those events is something that I forever cherish because it gives me an understanding into how different communities operate. And I do understand that each local community has its own different set of challenges, problems, and their own goals and visions, and the exposure that these events lead us to, I think it's wonderful. And I should think everyone should leverage this opportunity to make the most out of it, network with the right set of people, and learn as much as they can.
Yeah, you're very wise, Khushbu, and I think that our friends who are here at the Student Summit can learn a lot from you and your journey. So I appreciate you bringing me along for the ride this morning.
Thank you so much for being here. And now let's hand it over to our local hosts.
我都会记下来。 我一定要努力成为 Scott 这样的大师。
对的，感谢Scott 大神的一个分享，太赞了！我觉得我真的是给到大家很多的一些启发哈。